The Bible verse that reminded me I was still worth loving. There are things I've done that I don't talk about much. Not because I'm trying to hide them, but because I'm still trying to understand them myself. Words I wish I could unsay. Choices I made without thinking. Or maybe I did think, and still chose wrong anyway. I carry those moments with me. The ones I wish I could rewrite. The ones that sneak into my mind at night and replay like a loop I can't press stop on. And for a long time, I believed something quietly cruel. Maybe I ruined my shot at being loved. Not just by the people I let down, but by God. I thought love was a reward. Something you earned by being steady, selfless, kind. But I hadn't always been those things. I'd hurt people. I'd disappointed myself. I'd shut down when I should have stayed soft. And so, the shame built walls. High ones. And before I knew it, I was standing on the other side of those walls, wondering if anyone would come find me, wondering if I was still worth finding. Then one night, a night like any other, I picked up a Bible I hadn't touched in weeks. Not because I was holy, not because I was ready, but because I was empty. And on that page, I didn't find a verse that scolded me. I didn't find shame. I found an invitation. Quiet, gentle, real, and somehow, in just a few words, it reminded me I wasn't too far gone. But God demonstrates His own love for us in this. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5 verse 8. I'd read verses about love before, but this one, it stopped me. Not because it was poetic, not because it was profound, but because it was personal. While we were still sinners, not after we apologized, not once we became better people, but while we were lost, while we were running, while we were pretending we didn't need help, while we were still breaking things we didn't know how to fix. That's when love stepped in. Not when we had a plan, not when we were finally proud of who we'd become, but when we were still ashamed to look in the mirror. I let those words sink into the quiet of my room. Christ died for us, not to shame us, but to reach us. Not because we were lovable, but because He loved us anyway. That verse didn't excuse everything I'd done. It didn't erase the consequences of my choices. But it did do something I didn't know I needed. It told me I was still wanted, still seen, still worth rescuing. Not because I'd earned it, but because grace doesn't wait for permission. That's the kind of love that sits with you when no one else knows what to say. That's the kind of verse that doesn't just get read. It reads you. I used to think love was something you had to qualify for, like a reward, something given to those who had their life together, who didn't mess up, who didn't disappoint people or themselves. And because I had messed up more than once, I thought I'd lost my place, not just in people's hearts, but in God's too. I made choices I regret, said things in anger, pushed people away who were only trying to help. And afterward, the guilt didn't just show up once. It became a companion, a shadow I carried into every new relationship, every prayer I was too ashamed to finish. I didn't feel like someone God would still pursue. I didn't feel lovable. I felt like a burden He'd long since grown tired of. And the worst part, I got good at hiding it. I kept smiling, kept functioning, kept doing all the right things. But deep down, I felt like a fake, like I was playing a version of myself, who used to believe, but somewhere along the way, had stopped hoping for grace. Then one night, In the middle of a quiet I didn't know how to fill, I opened my Bible. No plan, no reason, just hunger. I wasn't looking for a specific verse. I just needed something that wouldn't turn away from me. And that's when I found it. But God demonstrates His love for us in this. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. I didn't cry right away. I just sat there, letting the words press softly into all the places where shame had been living rent-free. That verse didn't tell me to fix it all. It didn't list everything I'd done wrong. It simply told me, love showed up anyway. And suddenly, I realized I hadn't been disqualified. I'd just forgotten who grace was really for. It wasn't for the perfect. It was for the honest, for the tired, for the ones who still carry weight. They were never meant to bear alone. That verse, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. It didn't tell me to get over the past. It didn't say, move on. It didn't shame me for still feeling broken. Instead, it looked at my guilt, at my silence, at the mess I was sitting in, and whispered, I loved you there too. I used to think I needed to be better before I could come back to God. That I had to fix myself first. That I had to make the pain worth something before I could ask for healing. But that verse, it unraveled that lie. It told me I was loved in the middle of it, not after, not once I had it all figured out. And maybe that's the truth I'd been missing all along. That God's love isn't performance-based. It's not a paycheck we earn with perfect behavior. It's a promise, a steady, undeserved, unbelievable promise. While I was still lost, still angry, still pretending I was fine, Christ chose me anyway. He didn't wait for me to climb the wall of shame. He met me at the bottom, sat with me there, and reminded me, you were never too far gone. That's when I realized, maybe I didn't need to be worthy of love. Maybe I just needed to receive it. Slowly, quietly, one surrendered breath at a time. Not because I had finally gotten it right, but because grace was never about getting it right. It was always about this moment of finally believing I was still worth loving. If you've ever felt like you're too far gone, like the things you've done disqualify you from being loved again, I want you to hear me clearly. You are still worthy, still wanted, still seen, not because of what you've done, but because of what He has already done for you. While we were still sinners, not while we were perfect, not while we had it all together, but right there, in the middle of the mess, in the shame we never talk about, in the silence that convinces us we're no longer welcome. God's love didn't retreat. It reached. Maybe people walked away. Maybe they stopped believing in you. Maybe you stopped believing in yourself. But God never did. And He still doesn't. You're not too broken to be made new. You're not too late to be called back. You're not too dirty to be held close. If this story reminded you, even just a little, that you are still lovable, I invite you to subscribe to Hush Journal. This is a quiet place. A place where you don't have to be perfect. A place where we whisper truths to tired hearts and let healing take its time. There's no rush here, no pressure, just presence, and a gentle reminder that your story, even with its cracks and chapters you don't talk about, is not over. You are not what you've done. You are not the moment you regret. You are the one He still calls beloved. We'll be here, in the quiet, every time you need to remember, you are still worth loving.